to try and deal with SPT.
Definitely true. Definitely true. 4-2. I mean, if you compare it to last season, or maybe even the first season in which CE actually became champions of China, those map scores aren't really looking too convincingly anymore. If you even compare it to SPT, the current top dogs in the league, they're still undefeated on Dragonshire, for example. They're still almost undefeated on Battlefield of Eternity. So SPT, if you take a look at the Titans of China, so far convincing us way more than CE.
The only time we haven't seen SPT win on Dragonshire is at an international event where they've had to play against Europe and a lot of times with substitutes or against Korea, etc. I'm pretty sure that is their only scenario.
Yeah, definitely true. And we have yet to see Volskaya Foundry, by the way. We saw it yesterday in the European Open division, and one of the most spectacular endings of any game I've ever seen. Can you quickly summarize it, Tetcher? What happened?
So one team realized that the Protector wasn't good and decided to not bring it anymore, to not fight for it anymore, just went for the core. And Kael'thas had to abandon the Protector at the enemy base while he managed to get down one tower on the keep wall and be back to base, and was not able to save his game.
It was like you're powering up that huge mech, you're waltzing your way towards the enemy base, only to realize this thing is not hitting hard enough and my own base is dying. Damn it! Need to emergency exit, and it was all too late. They couldn't really salvage the situation anymore.
Yeah, they had some issues. It's going to take a little bit to figure out, and also the Protector will be changed soon in upcoming patches.
That is an excellent point. We have PTR, Public Test Realm patch notes, and the Protector on Volskaya Foundry is going to receive some significant upgrades. It's going to punch much harder, and it will also be more tanky the more players are sitting inside.
It's good to see that all that test data that the managers at Volskaya Foundry have been getting from us using the Protector is actually going into improvements. And it's not a situation of, oh, you guys are play testers, but we're not going to do anything. We're just going to say it was tested.
Exactly.
So... But no, good customer support. As we do see Rhaegar and Greymane locked in here. Very heavy burst.
Yeah, up to this point, we see the same old opening here for Chinese teams. As crazy as they like to get sometimes, they seem to have found their standard opening heroes with Greymane, who is going to receive some changes on the PTR as well, by the way. So use the doggo while you still can before he gets changed. I'm not saying he's getting nerfed or buffed or whatever. He's just getting changed, you know. And people are going to have to find out whether he will still be the same old mean wolf. But for now, it's Greymane, double doggo with Rhaegar and Hanzo. Really, really solid. Uther taking out of the equation, and I like that, to be honest, because I think with the removal of Uther, one of the top tier meta supports in China, games tend to develop a little bit differently because the support oftentimes determines your team's playstyle.
That would be agreed. We have a slight DC there in the lobby, so we will get back into that as soon as possible, ladies and gentlemen. But I agree. The Uther being removed is quite interesting, and it looks like the other ban we were hovering over was going to be Malthael. And that's fair enough. When you're against a Rhaegar, Malthael can probably be one of the most effective assassins, who will also be changed in upcoming patches, but right now is still how he's been for a very long time. But that touch of death, because Ancestral has that big old flashy wind-up, it's very easy just to hit one on your keyboard and have a really good time in a fight against a Rhaegar team.
Very true, very true. This interaction between the two heroes is oftentimes what makes or breaks a team fight. If Malthael activates it a little bit too late, like we saw yesterday, the full healing value will go through, heroes will survive, and your team may end up losing a team fight that you could have otherwise won. By the way, Tetra, I had to reload my stream, so I'm sitting at 9 seconds right now. Hopefully that works out for you.
7, apparently. Well done, mate.
Ooh, you're so quick today. UK internet is on a roll lately.
Yeah, I mean, I was awake before you for the first time, and I wake up at like past. But actually, yeah, you were awake before me, but I was moving.
You know, I was busy shooting videos of myself and posting to Instagram, so I didn't really do anything valuable.
But for some reason, your halo was completely out of sync with the rest of your head.
That's because I've got a really big head. The halo probably couldn't
tell
handle
the forest fairies that they need to maybe reduce the CPU intensity of the halo so that it doesn't lag.
All right, while we're waiting for the first game of the day to start, Why don't you tell us a little bit more about HGC Open Division Europe? Anything that stood out to you in terms of hero picks? Maybe if you compare it to China, what were European amateur teams doing differently?
So many teams picked the burst combos that we see in China against Hanzo a lot. Like, they picked Falstad a lot. They picked Sonya with Falstad a lot. Very little Tyrael. But they never really actually bursted with it. Like, they picked Hinterland, but they didn't pick setup for it. They picked a lot of Mighty Guts instead of the burst. And as such, Hanzo looked very, very strong throughout the entire day. But overall, I was astounded as to just how intense some of the fights were, which was really cool to see. There were so many fights where no one died. That sounds boring, but honestly, it was just due to insane plays by the tanks and supports.
I think it's safe to say that this year's Open Division is probably the most stacked and most talented, most promising looking one that we've ever had, with so many teams showing up with former HGC players, longtime veterans in the amateur scene, top Hero League Grandmaster players like Sonic the Beast. There's just a lot of talent, a lot of raw talent, a lot of diamonds in the rough here for HGC Open Division. And I would recommend you guys watching it both for NA and EU, depending on which time zone you are living in.
Would completely agree. It's really fun to see. Europe and NA, remember, are both on this channel, so just hit follow. You're gonna get HGC China, you get Korea, you get Europe, you get NA, you get Europe Open Division, you get NA Open Division. Don't think you get Korea Open Division, but that is what you get. But on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Tuesdays, you get HGC China and HGC EU or NA because they alternate weeks. And on Wednesdays, you get even more HGC China with me and Kendrick, as Lucio and Jaina are locked in.
Yeah, quite frankly, I don't think the peons who are operating this channel have ever been busier, because this Blizz Heroes channel is on fire, running almost every day in the week. So click that follow button and share the news with your friends, because you're definitely not going to regret it. But as you said, Lucio's here now, which is really cool. It really provides a lot of burst protection, which you can definitely need when it comes to saving somebody like Jaina. And what's cool about Lucio here in this setup is that up to this point, with the exception of a Dragon's Arrow, you don't really have that many interrupts that could mess with him while winding up the sound barrier, which is oftentimes one of the greatest counters. That's why heroes like Diablo, heroes like Muradin or ETC can be so crippling to a Lucio if he gets too close to those warriors. But up to this point, ETC was secured. Diablo could be taken still, but what do you think?
Well, they definitely need CC, because like you said, the sound barrier is an issue, the mosh pit is an issue, Whirlwind is an issue, so they pick some CC. It is Blaze and Muradin.
Now that is one
immediate response.
Tanky front line. Yeah, there goes the immediate response here with the Tychus. They're like, okay, we need to take care of those big juicy health bars, and we're gonna use Tychus. Maybe the bigger they are at level 4 to really shred the Muradin and the Blaze alike. And especially against Blaze, I think Tychus can be a formidable hero, because Blaze, once he uses his dash, he doesn't really have a lot of mobility anymore. So if he doesn't if he's not very careful about his positioning, he may actually fall very quickly to the hands of Jaina and Tychus.
Blaze basically works on, he has one mobility, which is also is engaged.
Yep.
And then he's very much reliant on reducing other people's mobility. This is something you mentioned when we cast players, that sometimes you don't want to ignite your oil, because it might have issues, because you're not going to get the slow if you don't pick the adhesive petroleum.
Yeah, especially in the very early game, like let's say level 1 to 7, you really want to be very careful on when to ignite your oil and when to leave it raw, because as Tetra said, the additional movement speed slow can make up for your lack of own mobility. So if you ignite it always the moment you see it, it's oftentimes more, I should say, counterproductive than it's actually going to give you benefits from. Very random power block, by the way, hanging off the wall.
Yeah, I do like that. We do see, by the way, the fact that Blaze, the way he is played these days is different per region. We see different builds every region, but he is solid enough to hold a solo lane. This is what we see a lot now.
Very true, very true. Who is he going to face in the solo lane? Very likely it is going to be the Sonya, but we're going to find out in a bit, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to jump into game number 1 between Soa and CE. And on the left-hand side, in the blue trunks, you can see one of the strongest teams in the region, Challenge, also known as CE, with a Lufel on that Tychus, Wind plays ETC, KTY is playing on the Jaina, 365 the support on Lucio, and Zuyu, last but not least, on Sonya.
And on the right, it is start over again at known as Soa, with Faye on the Blaze, Uncle G on Rhaegar, TY on Greymane, Klong on the Muradin, and Molly bringing out the Hanzo.
Alright, it's probably going to be a face-off between Sonya and Blaze, and as Tetra just explained very well, Blaze is a really good solo laner. However, never mind, Muradin is caught, and he's going nowhere.
Yep.
Okay.
So he decided to face check the bush alone. Is all I could really say about that play. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dragon Shire.
Welcome to China.
To rotate to the appropriate lanes that they plan on running for at least the next foreseeable part of the game.
There were a couple of things going on. I don't think it was Muradin's blame all alone, because the rest of his teammates were kind of far away, so maybe if Hanzo had shown up in the middle there as well...
They weren't trying to 5-man.
Yeah, they weren't trying to 5-man, but maybe a Hanzo error in the middle would have saved Muradin. But there's, of course, nothing to be said about Klong's reckless behavior here as well. Definitely shouldn't do that again. Okay, he was trying really hard here to prevent any further ganks by dropping a preemptive Stormbolt into the bush to not to face check again.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. When you're playing in this kind of tournament, a simple move like that, simple move where you are just where you are the first death, especially if it's that quick, can really change how you play because it affects you mentally.
Yeah, and especially if you face such a ruthless team like CE. You give them a finger and they will take your hand, because this team is not here to play. They actually, okay, technically speaking they're playing, but they really want to make sure that they do not lose the lead that they're currently having over the one, because they're literally sitting at their on their heels. Like, they are so close to overtaking them. I think every game, every point matters right now in this heated situation in HGC China.
For now, we see Faye trying to hold the lane, but he is very outnumbered, trying to poke down that spell-shielded mercenary camp from range. In the meantime, though, his team is responding with the bottom mercenary camp. Faye is getting zoned back by quite a bit. He does have some good sustain here. He took the Endurance Stim Pack, giving him that shield.
Definitely true, which is also a talent that we're not used to seeing in other regions. Normally we're used to seeing Neural Stim Pack, which gives mana and cooldown reduction, or the new Habits, which is a collectible globe talent, which will give you an unstoppable on your trait after all. And we can see a very different approach by both teams on how they tackle this early game, whereas C was focusing heavily on that top lane, destroying 2 towers already and still pressuring. Soa was doing a quick rotation, giving up top, but getting value, huge value actually in the bottom, securing both mercenary camps there and the Shrine Light.
Yeah, so both teams actually able to claim control of one of the lanes, basically. However, Soa have abandoned bot lane a little bit here, moving it up to mid lane to just clear some minions. And as such, it's currently a double channel. Faye, now he can't really 1v1 Sonya until his trait is ready. He does have Meltdown now, which will help him do so, but he already used it a couple seconds earlier to help clear the lane.
The big problem for Blaze in a solo lane against the Sonya is that A, his E is on a relatively long cooldown, and B, it also needs to be aimed. So if he misses the charge, then Sonya won't get interrupted, and she will always be able to out-sustain and out-DPS the Blaze player. So in terms of, you know, how you execute the hero and how easy it is to execute the hero, he's a little bit at an advantage. In the meantime, Stormbolt misses, but the slow is still good. KTY in trouble. Lucio to the rescue.
Great save by Lucio there. That might have been fixable if they'd hard engaged a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely true. Another disadvantage for Blaze, of course, is the fact that Sonya doesn't require mana, whereas he could run out of gas quite literally and won't be able to use his spells anymore.
Absolutely agreed. I just had a quick spike. What are you on?
Let me see. In the meantime, we see another gank here on Uncle G. The Duggo ends up falling as well. And I'm going to tell you my latency to the Chinese clean feed. I'm still sitting at 9.
9? Okay. I actually lagged up to 9. I thought I was further.
Amazing!
I thought I was that far ahead.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering, we're casting off a Chinese clean feed, which means we have no impact, we have no control over the camera, over production, over anything. So we're basically just as helpless sometimes as you guys are, but for the most part, it's really cool actually for us casters to cast from a clean feed because we don't have to worry about anything. We're just gonna, you know, wait for the Chinese production crew to handle it. And admittedly, they've been doing a wonderful job this phase.
They really, really have. We've had minimal delays, which is honestly fantastic to see here. The pulls back nice and easy, no harassment there.
Very true. In the meantime, Fei and Zuyu are probably going to face each other again. Rhaegar joining the fray. The slow is good. The charge isn't, however, and that could actually be the reason why Zuyu could survive. No, he ends up falling. Klung's position was too good.
Wind and Luful were on the way, but they couldn't get there in time, and as such, it is Sonya who is falling as both teams are approaching level 10 with CE a little bit ahead despite losing that Sonya. They continue to soak the lane though, which is exactly what they need to do.
Exactly, and when talking about level 10s and ETC players, I think we've seen an astounding rise of stage dive plays, whereas before it was almost exclusively the mosh pit. The Chinese teams seem to have discovered the advantages that a good stage dive play can offer to the team, and especially on a global favoring map like Dragonshire, having this potential of surprising enemies from behind, of flanking, of split pushing in the meantime, can be really, really good at taking objectives all over the map and maybe securing a Dragon Knight or two.
Where we see the crossfire coming in from Blaze, very similar to builds we saw last time.
Yeah.
As the heroics are hit for CE, so are very close behind though.
Yeah, Molly with a good dodge over the wall here. That's, of course, Hanzo's primary tool of escaping. In the meantime, Sonya trying to pick up the Dragon Knight, and she does so successfully. KTY with a cheeky body block there.
Very nicely done, blocking the ability, and as such, they have level 10 and are pushing in. ETC not picking his ability yet. He's actually in lane with his team, so he could just quick pick Mosh here if he was required and CC enemies out of position. On the other side, Blaze has gone for that bunker.
Bunker it up. I mean, that is the second time we see Blaze on HGC China, at least on stream, and it's the second time we're seeing the bunker to be deployed. So Chinese teams, they seem to value the protection and the mind games that you can play with your opponents over the raw damage of combustion, which is normally the go-to in other regions like Europe, for example.
Also, the second that bunker was locked in, ETC locked in the mosh pit. He is preparing for potential bunker shenanigans due to the fact that if you plan it well enough, mosh pit could be a great follow-up to bunker.
Yeah, that is actually one of the biggest traps of a bunker play, that while it may protect your allies, it could also expose them after the bunker gets destroyed or they exit it on purpose. However, the 25 armor will at least make them a little bit more resilient before they end up falling or surviving. So, Uncle G needs to be careful. Wind is already laying down the trap. Is he going to catch somebody? Let's find out.
Finds Klong, definitely the hardest hero he would have had to engage. However, Uncle G was not so lucky. He finds so many. Wind takes a lot of damage in order to set up that kill. And the sound barrier, though, keeps Wind alive. Mosh pit on the Muradin. The Muradin getting focused down. Might not be enough. They actually managed to push Blaze in there as well. The Blaze dropping the bunker as both a body block and as some armor. Luckily, that wall dies, giving him the escape. Beautiful charge. Heals himself up. Grenades not enough. And a Luful might die here.
Oh, no!
Get the kill.
The Hanzo accuracy, a master sniper here. That is Molly. Beautiful kill on a Luful after all. But those 25 armor really mattered for Fei. Otherwise, he would have not survived, quite frankly.
Absolutely, he was able to get the armor, and even though he was
slow
back by ETC, he was able to survive long enough for that wall to just get killed by AoE damage, which gave the way out. We're going to see it again, actually. Down goes Rhaegar. A lovely mosh pit. The Dragon Arrow was used so far in advance.
Yeah.
You can see Blaze. Did Blaze get knocked in? Yes, the Lucio boot.
So nice.
Very nice to see, but now, here is the bunker. Down goes the wall as ETC pushes him into what he thought was a trap. And then the beautiful charge out. Any extra damage and he would have been dead. Yeah. So like you said, that armor, absolute saving grace.
Fantastic, but I want to highlight 365 here, the new support for CE starting off this season. He is a longtime veteran in the scene, in the Chinese local scene, but I think this season he's showing his true potential, his prime, because those Lucio plays were amazing. The amazing sound barrier there to save everybody in this vicinity, then as you perfectly pointed out, the boop into the mosh pit to really guarantee more disable time. So 365, a support play you always have to be on the lookout for.
Bunker is dropped and killed off very quickly, but Blaze staying in it for the full duration here. Now moving in, looking for KTY, as we see Rhaegar and Greymane are already dead. Fei goes down too. Molly has managed to flee. Clog attempting to duplicate the success here via jumping over a wall, but is not so lucky thanks to the Lucio speed boost chase.
Yeah, 365 with more plays even. Another sound berry that hit the targets it was supposed to hit. More mobility. And I think a lot comes down to Lucio players really knowing how to activate the speed boost and when to activate it. Because the healing is not always the best choice, especially when it comes to helping allies escape or helping allies to catch up. And we see another replay of that move.
Yeah, I really thought once the Dragon Arrow was dropped like straight down, that short amount of CC would give them enough time to turn around, but they're so split with TY just getting absolutely pinballed here via the actual pinball wizard from ETC and the extra grenade knockback that Tychus had.
Yeah, and while we criticized KTY yesterday a little bit for his over-eager and overzealous fall step plays, I think this time around he's looking much more comfortable on the Jaina. Okay. Yeah, KTY looking a lot more comfortable this game on the Jaina than he did yesterday in the fall step. I think if you have less mobility, sometimes you're not really falling into the temptation of trying to make plays where you're not supposed to make them.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to make the plays now anyway. Just the fact the majority of damage at this point, if he wants to stay safe, is his cocktail and his cocktails, and that's becoming very difficult because ETC do a good job. Good cocktail there though. Here comes the bunker. Rhaegar takes a long trip, a beautiful route onto Clog, who gets absolutely trapped, but a nice heal onto him there by Uncle D. They're able to wrap back around, and they will actually probably make it back to their... Oh, maybe not. The second route deny for the Dwarf Toss. He just keeps doing it. Body blocks coming in to try and protect Clog. And as such, Uncle G will save Klong, and TY rolls to freedom. Everyone on Soa lives, but the keep goes down.
I mean, they weren't able to defend the keep, which is a pity, but they managed to keep everybody alive, which is even more important here, because if they had lost one or two members, the gates would have been open for CE, and they could have actually tried to race for the core because Odin was still active. They've got good core damage to begin with the Sonya and the Jaina and the Tychus. So nice hold by Soa. However, it didn't come for free after all.
Yeah, like you said, with the keep down, but that hold 17 versus 14 is a pretty big deal here. And Blaze was able to assist with that a lot. Because once again, we're trying to run down his build a little bit more because he's the newest hero for you guys. He did take the suppressive fire to reduce that Jaina damage, so he was just trying to ping her with harassment as much as he could.
Exactly. So reducing spell power works, of course, against mages like the Jaina, but it also works against Sonya. It works against supports as well. If you reduce a support spell power, then that means there's going to be reduced healing. Against Lucio, I wouldn't say it's the most efficient thing ever because he's got very little healing outside of the Emped up anyways, but it's still a nice bonus effect that you have from this talent.
Exactly. It's very strong if you're able to get the full value out of it, which I'd be able to do. Also, it's just extra fire, because cocktail's just not enough.
Speaking of fire, here comes the Odin, supported by triple mercenary camp value, actually.
They move forward, Blaze arrives. The Odin sieging down with all this damage output, using it before level 20, so hopefully once the cooldown is finished, it'll be back in time. Clog attempts to delay, good charge in by Blaze, holding the line, has that damage reduction. The mosh pit is interrupted, Ancestral lands on TY. He's able to move back, they're trying to retreat though, but they have very few places to retreat to. The bunker is expired, and Blaze is taken out. ETC power side, TY going down along with Uncle G. Clog and Molly, the only ones left as CE move on to the core.
A double kill in perfect synchrony here. The double doggos fell at the exact same time. They're sharing the exact same death timer. And CE, they're on a warpath here. They're seeking to end game number 1 in glorious fashion. And right now, with nobody left alive for Team Soa, they seem to be able to achieve exactly that. Well played. GG. CE takes the lead on Dragonshire in a very, very convincing manner.
Very nicely done there by CE. I enjoyed the Blaze plays, but that